evening. My name is Bob Trémouille. You're watching the Cambridge Environment. The purpose of this show is to go into the world around us in Cambridge, explain what the nasty city government has to do with all this stuff. Today I have with me Hasson Rashid, who is on Wednesdays at 4:30 now.
4:30. 4:30.
With Human Services.
News and information.
News and information.
4:30.
Hasson has been concerned about a situation which ignore the phone. We're not taking phone calls. Which is up on Mass Ave, up on Prospect Street, just before the 7-Eleven. And we got our computers. Let's see, we got the computers set up. Switch over to that. And this is the real topic. If I can cut. Come on, cut. This is not working. That's should be. Oh, there we go. Come on. Oh, I'm not holding that enough. Prospect and Hampshire Street historical site of Clement Morgan, terribly neglected. Now let's switch over. I do have the photos. He's got a bunch of photos in here. This was my photo of the site. And let's see, 11-35. Let's try just zapping through to his. And Hasson, if you'd tell the folks what we're talking about.
Okay, now that's Hampshire Prospect, and this is the site reportedly to be the family home site of Clement Morgan, that gentleman right there that you see on screen. And he was a black man, 1800s, that graduated from Harvard, and he was the first black person to serve on the Cambridge City Council, and he was one of the founders and forerunners of the NAACP, the National Association of Colored People. They met up in Niagara Falls, okay? And Clement was one of the, I think it was 12 or 13 folks that included W.E.B. Du Bois, et cetera, from out of here in Mass, and they organized the NAACP. But that site that we're looking at now was reportedly to be his family home. Right now, the thing is that at first, when I noticed this, I saw the historical plat. You just saw the historical plat, which has been planted there by the Cambridge Historical Commission. Now that's a historical plat, and I walk past there almost daily, and I noticed this, and I looked, and then I looked, I says, well, look at the site itself. The grounds, the trees there are dying. I see somebody's neglecting this site. There's about 12 trees on that site, and they're dying. Some of them are dead. Look at the ground. The grass is gone. There's a black tar substance that's covered all the grass. So in January, I think it was in January or February, I approached the city council about this. I says, well, look, you people, I thought it was the Department of Public Works, the City Hall, the City of Cambridge neglecting this site, and because of its historical value. And I found out that it wasn't the city. The people who own that site are the Eversource, the power people, the Eversource Corporation. And they own that site, but the city owns the sidewalk and the curve, the streets, its attachments to the streets. So that's why I felt that the city was responsible. And I talked to the city council, and I didn't get any results. So I kept pushing and pushing. I found out that Eversource, the power people, gas, Mass, they run all the utilities in Mass, gas, electric, everything. And they own that site, and they've been neglecting that site. And they're international for building up their reputation about how environmentally friendly they are. Look at that. Do that look like they're environmentally friendly? Eversource. I talked to the commissioner of the Cambridge Historical Society because they had the plat. See the plat there? That's a historical plat. And he said, well, Eversource owns the property. The city doesn't own it. Well, I said, well, what are you guys doing? That place has been lying dormant like that, decaying several years. And this is a famous man. I even talked to the at Cambridge African American Historical Trails Association, and I went to their meeting this February. They had a big meeting at the YWCA, and I told them about this. I brought this to their attention, and they said they're working on it, but I haven't heard from them. I haven't heard from the Cambridge Historical Commission. I haven't heard from the City Council, and while this famous gentleman's family historical site is being neglected like that, and it's a crying shame. I took those photos, I posted them. They went national. Those photos are all over the internet. They're international. But anyway, something has to be done. Look at that. They put a black tar substance over the grass. There's no more grass. They need to restore. I approached the city council, says that the grass and the trees has to be restored on that site. And that's a substation. The Eversource has a sub power station in the back. You see the building in the back? It's a sub power station that the Eversource control. And I even wrote and complained to Eversource about it, but I haven't heard from them. They sent me a message that says, well, we're going to get back in touch with you. I haven't heard anything from Eversource. And that's a crying shame right there. The NACP or any civil rights group can go and sue those people for that. They don't know that. They don't know that. Something has been. That's why I approached Mr. Trémouille, is that your name?
Trémouille. Not Trémouille.
About it, because I know he is an advocate of environmentally friendly, a friend of the environment, because of his works with trying to stop them from destroying trees, old trees down on Memorial Drive at the Charles River. So that's why I approached him about this. He says, well, I'm going to bring you on my show and let you tell the public your story. So that's why I'm here today. Thanks to Mr. Trémouille. It's a French name. I got trouble pronouncing it.
Well, what we got here is we've got the usual problem with the city of Cambridge. I think you've talked to the city arborist also, haven't you?
I approached the city council about this, not the arborist, the commissioner, Charles Sullivan of the Cambridge Historical Commission, because they had planted a plaque there, a historical plaque, honoring this gentleman, Mr. Clement Morgan. And like I said, he was a forerunner of a lot of things here in Cambridge, which he was beneficial to the Black American community here in Cambridge. I mean, they did a lot of first things for everybody here in the United States. NACP, et cetera, Harvard University. And, but it's a crying shame what the authorities have allowed to take place at this site.
This is what you will come into. A lot of this stuff is the city council will do all this lovely noise about how great they are and how interested they are. But when it comes down to putting things into black and white, they don't do it. To the best of my knowledge, there's only one zoning in the city which protects the bushes and the trees, and that's the one that I created on Mass Ave, between Harvard and Central Squares. And it's also one of the first things they'll kill with the so-called master plan. This is probably, I would say really you've been talking to the black organizations would probably, the historical people, probably be the best bet.
Well, I
have them raise heck.
Well,
use publicity.
This is still early in the year. Now, I approached them around late January, February, March, and I found out what I needed to know: who owns the property. Can you show that again? Can you show that that site right there? Yeah. And look how this place is being neglected.
Well, these are your photos.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting back to mine. And what happened is I took a bunch of photos about an hour ago.
And the city has, right now on the agenda, city council's agenda, they have the public works department going around planting trees, you know, and taking care of the property, all the spring buildup and cleanup. But what about this site? Nobody's doing nothing. That site's been laying dormant like that, destroyed, just deteriorating for over 3 or 4 years.
Well, a lot of what they're doing here is the same thing with the destruction of Memorial Drive. They're making work with contractors. And this is private property. They can't spend money on private property.
But they should have some influence, because the sidewalk is in private property and the street is in private property. That's city. And then plus the Historical Commission has a plaque on that property. So they have connections with Eversource.
I
And-
have to check the most recent changes. They've been wiping out the requirements that I have created in most of my zoning, a thing called yard requirements. That is, you're required to have open space between the building and the street. This is something that the city in their zoning initiatives has destroyed routinely. And this is the sort of thing you can expect to see destroyed in the so-called master plan.
Well, there
Because
must,
they want
you
this to
know,
be retail.
I haven't looked at the agreement between Eversource and the city of Cambridge, but there must be something in that agreement which pertains to the upkeep of the property, because it's within the city, you see?
It should be, but
yeah.
they tend to avoid that.
Yeah, well,
They
that's
do
evidently,
They
that's,
talk about everything except for the important stuff.
they're neglecting, that's evidence that they're neglecting this piece of property, but the special thing is it has historical significance, you know? And it means a lot. It has a sentimental value for a whole community of people. And they're neglecting that. And that's not right. And I told him, I says, I'm going to pursue this issue until the grass is restored at that site and all those dead trees are replanted or something. You know, look at that. There are about 10 dead trees there. And the Eversource is filthy rich, you know?
Now, here's a good example of where they are. On the right-hand side, that reddish thing is the plant. And across the street, you have residential properties.
Yeah, yeah.
And here is the.
So look at that. They just flooded the ground with the black tar substance so they wouldn't have to send nobody out to cut the grass, you know? Or employ anybody to cut the grass at the site. So, you know.
They just don't care.
Yeah, they don't give, yeah, that's it.
Okay, here's another view from the side toward Central Square. You see in the same buildings, and in the background, you are seeing, I guess that gray building may be the building that replaced Kentucky Fried.
That was the old Kentucky Frieds, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they're putting up condos on top of what used to be Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah, yeah. So Public Works Department, under the authority of the city manager, they're doing everything all over the city, and they're neglecting that spot, you know? I mean, they can force Eversource to live up to their agreement with the city, to upkeep their land. I know that's in the agreement, but they're not doing it. At Eversource, you ever look at their internet, and you can see that their website, you can see they boast, they have several pages on how environmentally friendly they are, Eversource. Well, this proves that they're not.
It is definitely outrageous.
Right in the city.
And it's a shame we have such a bad city council. Have you spoken to the council much?
I have every Monday there. I am always there in front of the city council. And I've spoken to them several times about this. But it's still early in the year, so McGovern, he says, well, it's early, we're gonna work on it, we're gonna send this to committee, et cetera, and nothing happens, you know? And, well, that's a city councilman McGovern, you know? And, but I talked to him about this, and I talked to Councilor Mazin about it, and those two. And I always, I think I brought this attention to, what's the other councilman? The one that's an architect. I forgot his name. But anyway.
Well, you got a guy who claims to be representing this area, the Arab?
Yes, Mazin. That's Councilman Mazin. Yeah.
Mazin, huh?
Yeah, yeah. But I was talking to the other gentleman, the architect. Now he did a lot of work with the MIT area because of his architectural background. He boasts about how much he has committed. I heard in his campaign when he was running for city council campaign slogan, he says how much he has committed to working with the MIT and along the river there with Boston. But when I bring this to what are these guys? All these professionals sitting up at city council and they're letting this go by just like that. But then they want to brag that they're so friendly to the Black American community. How come they're letting this place go down? This man has direct connections with the city council. He was the first black person alderman in the city of Cambridge back in the 1800s. And how come I mean, this should make them feel connected to this particular spot and this gentleman, because he's one of them. He was a city councilman, you know, but I guess not, you know. But I haven't given up. I haven't given up my efforts to approach the city and try to make them. But I believe deep down in the city council's heart, they mean right. And if I approach them and keep this on their conscience, I think they're going to do something about that. They're going to restore that grass. That's all I'm asking for. Just restore the grass. Restore some of those dead trees. That's all I'm asking them to do.
Yeah, that's one of the dead trees. I presume that's all they need.
You know, that's nothing for them to do. I mean, you know, and that's something you can see. That's something that's on their list to do things. The things to do list. You can tell.
Presumably, the first few trees had survived, and the rest.
No, the ones you see green are dying. They're brown. Some of the leaves and everything. They don't even cut the dead leaves off them. They don't upkeep the property. Look at there. You'll count with 10 trees in back of that. But those green ones are dying. For some reason, they've lasted longer than the others. That big tree right there. You see that big tree in the yard? That big tree is about 300 years old, and it's dying. There's two big trees. Back in the old days, they called them champion trees. The whole forest was a forest of champion trees like that.
Well, the city council showed what they think of old trees on Memorial Drive.
Yeah, well, they don't care. They don't care. They just letting those trees go.
Deadly silence.
Yeah, and those trees are.
Although they did yell at the zoos going through the city.
Yeah, they did that. Yeah, they don't want the zoos.
Which is a fun game.
They don't want the zoos in the city. Yeah.
It has nothing to do with their powers, so they yell at the zoos.
Well, I don't know what it is. The city manager's going out. I don't know if he cares or not, because he's leaving office. He says he throw this on the table of his replacement. You know, whoever's going to replace him. You know, because he that's how he rose to prominence in the city hall. He come up through the Department of Public Works.
And so did the woman he's trying to get replacing him.
He rose up through the ranks, you know. And I mean, he should be aware of. They're bragging about how much they're doing in Cambridge, how the city budget rating, they got AAA rating, and how well they're doing financially. But the thing is, they got agreement with EverSource. And it's their responsibility to keep their their properties within the city upkeep, to keep them fit.
It's shameful.
Yeah, it's a crying shame. There he is, Clement Morgan. I think that was reported to be his family home there. The power EverSource bought it out. That's where his family.
Well, matter of fact, it probably was very similar to the other buildings on the street.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
It could have been like that, or it could have been a single-family house.
But you know, the African American Historical Trails Commission here in Cambridge, they have that as one of their historical sites. Tourists come to see that place there, and that brings a lot of tourists in, and that's on a tourist. Nationally, that's on the tourist registry. They come in, that's one of the first places they want to see. When they come, they want to see the black historical trails in this part of Massachusetts. Black was really important in the early history of Mass. And this is one of the spots. But it's being neglected by EverSource. I talked to Charles Sullivan, who's the director of the Cambridge Historical Society, and he says, well, I'm looking into it myself. You know, we don't own that property. City don't own that property. It belongs to EverSource. I said, well, look, because of an agreement with anyone who has a business in the city, they have the responsibility to upkeep their property, you know? And they're neglecting that. The NACP or any other black advocacy organization can come along and sue that the EverSource for plenty of money. They're so negligent. And that should wake them up too, but they're not moving on it. Look at that, all the grass is gone. All the black tar substance on the ground. I said, well, they should restore the grass and the trees, the dead trees. Take those dead trees out and put some new trees in there.
I didn't look very closely at that substance. That could be the stuff that Cambridge is putting around the trees on the sidewalk.
It's a tar substance. I don't know, it's tar, and I bet it's toxic too. And I bet it's just not any good for the environment at all. They don't know what's in that tar substance, the chemical compound, or breakdown of that stuff.
This is looking at the plant through the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, that's the substation there. That's the plant, Eversource.
Okay, there's the other view of the neighboring.
That's the 7-Eleven parking lot there, from that view. Well, I'm glad to be on your show, and I'm glad that you helped me bring this to the attention of the public at large. Maybe somebody's out there that has the kind of influence or authority to put pressure on these people and wake them up and get something done about that spot. That's a natural tourist attraction right there, that place, Clement Morgan.
I am very cynical about the city council. I've seen them. I've seen their cheerleaders want to know nothing, and the city council is no better. The cheerleaders will tell you how great they are, and they lie by omission. That is, they tell you everything except the bad stuff. And this is the bad stuff.
Oh, that's why I'm not a politician, That's why I stay away from politics. I'm an advocate. I like the advocate to be an advocate, to advocate on behalf of sensitive issues, Not politician. I'm not a politician, so I don't even try to endeavor to be a politician. But I know I'm confronted with the fact that to get something done, you have to understand what these politicians are all about, and without being committed politically, No, but I don't know. But the thing is, I haven't given up on that site. Now it's getting out there. It's out there. We got 30,000 viewers at CCTV. And I know there's some folks out there that have the authority or the connections to inquire into this. Why is this being held up? And I'm just one person. I go up and I speak to city council all the time, but I'm not effective. I'm not in a position whereas I can influence something to be done about that. But my voice is there, and I want to make sure that's all I got is my voice, and that's why I want to make sure it's heard, my voice on this. It's out there now.
Okay, actually, it would probably have been a good idea for me to take calls. I never take calls. And I don't even know how to answer them. But we will see.
If someone's out there from the Appearace, what did you say, the Appearace?
No.
The Appearace, the city of Appearace, you mentioned earlier. The
Cheerleaders.
The Appearace. Maybe somebody is out there listening as part of that conglomerate, and maybe they can call in and shed some light on this.
Well, the problem is the cheerleaders don't think. They just cheerlead. And they go to the city government to find out what they believe.
Well, it's a crying shame, like you said. It's
they will
terrible.
go forward and support whatever further destruction is wished because they do their best not to think.
Cambridge is internationally known for its intellectual capabilities or capacity, the fact that it's a center of education, a worldwide center of education, and this is a smack in the face to that. The community here is, the intelligence level here is supposed to be very high, not that low.
Well, the situation is the neighboring streets are residential. And the city manager wants to destroy all housing on Prospect Street.
Well, you know what?
That he can get away with.
I heard your program before, and I've heard you say that several times, but now I'm starting to realize how true it is.
That's what the zoning is for, and they've recently changed the zoning in this area to do exactly that. And they've got more cheerleaders down in the Charles River fighting for retail.
Well, I've heard
On Magazine Beach, the same guys who fought for the destruction of hundreds of trees, claiming they were defending everything.
Well, I've heard you say it, and I didn't pay too much attention until this issue came up, Prospect and Hampshire Street. And I said, well, this gentleman is correct. The city's just sitting, they're not doing anything. If you bring an issue to, they're always telling the people, if you have some issue, bring it to us and we'll work on it. I brought the issue to them last year and nothing has been done.
Sounds reasonable.
So I'm agreeing with you about how the city is just out destroying the environment.
Okay, this
Perpetrators of environmental destruction.
This is Prospect Street. I think in the background, you can see the, what is it, Merit Station? What do they call that now? That would be the Merit Station, and this is the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, that's the filling station. Then there's Huda Halal food stores down there too, and that's Eversource. So I say that if everybody out there in the listening audience, write your elected officials and tell them about this issue here.
It really is a mess.
Yeah, let your elected officials, all of them, state, federal, and even local elected officials, write a letter, tell them something's got to be done about that location.
Now here is the sort of thing that Cambridge is fighting for. Mm-hmm. This used to be the Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
And they chopped it down and put up condos on top of it.
I don't know.
But they're building right up to the sidewalk.
Yeah.
This is what the city manager wants. He doesn't want grass on the floor. And this is exactly the opposite of what you're doing.
Well,
and this...
It's a crying shame, I'm telling you.
This game they're playing with this fancy so-called plan. What that plan's going to do is stuff that I've been beating them repeatedly, and I beat the city manager repeatedly using the city council. In any case, my name is Bob Trémouille. You've been watching the Cambridge Environment.